Have you ever wondered where the stereotypes that Asian women are submissive came from, or why Asian men have historically been viewed as less desirable? Hey class, welcome to Abroad Sex Education, the sex education you deserve that actually makes sense. In this Office Hours episode, for Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month, we're unpacking the fetishization and stereotypes Asian American people face, how history and media shape them, and why attraction is never socially neutral. I'm your host, sex educator and academic on Asian American history, Sin. And today my co-hosts are not Asian people, Brooklyn and Asa.
Hello.
Hi. We're
Uh,
Asian Sensation supporters.
There we go. Asian allies?
Yeah.
supporters of the
Supporters
Asian
of
American
Asian.
Pacific Islander community.
Yes.
Happy supporters.
Yay. This podcast is a sex education resource for adults. We have real, inclusive conversations about human sexuality, pleasure, relationships, gender, identity, and more. Some topics may feel explicit or sensitive, especially in today's lesson where we mention racially violent hate crimes, the sexualization of Asian women, and a story that has a problematic age gap. Please take care while listening. Our goal is to break the stigma and offer the kind of sex education many of us never got. We're learning too and bring what we learn here so we can all grow together. You deserve to know what this is about so you can make an informed choice to listen. Or not. That's what consent looks like, even here. So, May is AAPI Heritage Month, which is the annual observance that celebrates historical and cultural contributions of individuals with roots in Asia, Pacific Islands of Melanesia, Micronesia, and Polynesia. I wanted to do this episode because of AAPI History Month, and I thought the best way to tie it in was obviously this question: what are you? Which is the name of our lesson. What are you? The sexualization and desexualization of Asian people. What are you is a very common question that Asian people, and I think just people of the global majority, get in dating, but sometimes just in a general social context. The intention is just to find out the ethnic background of a person, but we will later see why this is a problematic question to ask.
The other one that comes to mind is, where are you really from?
Yeah.
That's the other one.
Yeah, I feel like I often get asked, what are you? Like, what's your background? And I'm like, just is white. But then they like specifically want to know more, which I always thought it was because it was coming from a place of like them wanting to share what their heritage is. But I don't know. It would probably be a very different experience, I think, for somebody that is an Asian American or somebody else to have that question constantly asked. Maybe it is like a different meaning.
Yeah. Every time I was asked, where are you from? I would always just say like, oh, I'm from like the California area. But then you always get the follow up like, no, where are you really from? Like, what are you? And that's when it feels like, oh.
Yeah. And when it's also like at this point, you know, somebody could be like a fourth generation Californian and that's just a weird question. I don't know.
Yeah. They could have lived here their whole lives and don't have as many ties back to their heritage because they've lived here. Like culturally, they are American by that point.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, this is an Office Hours special episode. All right. So good place to start is, how does society shape who we see as desirable? There are different influences like race, media, stereotypes, culture, and gender expectations. On the slide right now, I have a picture of Kumail Nanjiani, and I think he's a great example of how society and beauty standards play out. He's a Pakistani actor that was originally in Silicon Valley. He was one of the nerdy developers who was, I don't know if he was a developer, but he was one of the nerdy tech guys that helped found the company. I have not watched the show in a long time, but I remember it being really, really good. He got booked to be in the Marvel movie Eternals, and that's when he really bulked up and he got in shape for the Eternals movie, and then the internet kind of gave him a lot of shit for it.
Why?
Really? Why?
Asian men aren't typically seen as a group that gets the most attention from the other sex. Oh, And in this whole episode, we're going to be talking about heterosexual relationships. Because of my personal experience, I can't say how this translates into queer experiences, so I did not want to include that here.
Yeah, that's fair.
But when he got buff, everyone was like, oh, look at him. Like, they were making fun of him for getting in shape. And that was like one of his jokes on his stand-up special, was just like, this is the beauty standard. And then when he got buff, everyone made fun of him for it and like gave him a bunch of shit. And they're like, when did the rules change? Like, why is this not okay anymore?
Yeah,
It's really
super
bizarre.
gross. I feel like the people that were doing that, I feel like it's just people that maybe were jealous of him, I guess,
Right.
or that like first identified with him as maybe the nerdy character that he was, and then didn't like that he got super buff. I'm honestly so out of touch that I didn't realize anybody was making fun of him for this.
I didn't
I was
either.
just like, damn.
I thought he was
good.
always like a very attractive, like handsome gentleman.
I
You know,
think,
like
yeah,
I didn't,
yeah. This
I
is
didn't,
news to both
I
of
didn't
us.
know there was negative backlash to him at all.
Yeah.
I think he looks amazing. And that is crazy and just like gross that the whole internet decided to make fun of him for it.
Yeah.
That's so weird.
When he posted on Instagram, it was just flooded with comments of people bullying him,
What the
essentially.
fuck? That's so bizarre.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And I also think
He was great in Taskmaster. That's all I.
Yeah,
Same.
We
Yeah,
are-
it's better than that.
we're reading for him in Taskmaster. It's current. I don't know if the season's currently going, but we're watching it.
Yeah.
It's still currently going, but he's on the newest season of Taskmaster, and he likes to make jokes about his muscles, like they're decorative and stuff like that. But really, like he put in a lot of work, and he deserves to be recognized for the amount of work that he put in for this.
Yeah, I think he looks super attractive.
Yeah.
I'm
So-
also attracted to this man. I mean, look,
Right?
look at him.
The longer he stays on the screen, the more attractive we are.
Like I said, Asian men aren't typically seen as attractive, but I'm going to go into a little data on that before we look more at these stereotypes that Asian people face. Asian people are often fetishized, overlooked, hypersexualized, desexualized, but it all depends on race, gender, and social context. I realize this last slide. I will fix that. The last bullet point. Mental note. But this is the contradiction, is the fact that it really just depends on your gender. And so this chart that on the side is data from 2.4 million heterosexual relationships. It was pulled from a Facebook app, Are You Interested? And it was graphed by a company called Quartz. And so it breaks down which races respond to which race of the opposite gender. I don't know how to explain that.
That was correct. Whatever you just said was
Yes.
the right way to say that.
So it's women of either Asian, Black, Latino, white, and men of Asian, Black, Latino, white backgrounds in this study. And they essentially compiled the data to see which groups were attracted to which the most, or what got the most attention. So for women, Asian, Latino, and white women respond to white men the most. Black women responded to Black men the most. Asian women, Latino women, and white women responded to Black men the least. And Black women responded to white men the least. For men, Asian men typically responded to Latino women the most. Black men, Latino men, and white men responded to Asian women the most. And Asian, Black, Latino, and white men all responded to Black women the least. So the people least likely to get responses from the opposite gender were Black women and Asian men.
Anecdotally, as per usual on these episodes, I am finding that not everyone is like me. Once again, because I've dated a lot of Asian guys, and that just contradicts everything. Like, I am in my
Right.
own bubble, completely unaware of what is happening in the rest of the world until I come on these episodes and I find out.
Why?
And well, I've been dating a lot of Asian men, and they're not even interested in me, apparently. No.
They just respond to Latino women the most.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I do. Some people do think that I have a little Latina in me, so maybe that's why. I don't know.
In my experience, I've dated Asian men the least because Asian men are not interested in me. And
That's crazy.
I've had like maybe I've gone on like 1 or 2 dates with Asian men versus any other racial background.
So why, like from your experience culturally, why is that the case?
I typically, in my dating life, have not dated Filipino men because there's so much of a familial community that like it feels incestuous even though we're not related.
I see.
Just to
Just
me.
because of like the culture is so similar.
No, I think every time I meet a Filipino person, I automatically just treat them as family.
Okay.
And so I see like the obviously family resemblance, you know? And so it's hard for me to look past that and see it. Just again, it feels incestuous to think of them more, even though I'm probably not related to them, you know?
Right.
Typically in Southern California, I see Asian men usually either go for white women, other Asian women, and Latino women. I very rarely see Asian men going for Black women.
I'm trying to think now, because I this is something that I like. I don't want to be like I don't see color, but like I don't register it that much when I'm meeting people or whatever. So now I'm trying to consciously think of the people that I know, and I feel like that kind of lines up with what I know.
Asian women do tend to get a lot of attention from most racial backgrounds. This is the data that shows that certain groups are attracted to Asian women or not attracted to Asian men. Asian women tend to be more fetishized and hypersexualized, and then Asian men tend to be desexualized, which is
And
what
we're going to talk about why.
Yeah, we're going to
Okay.
talk about the history of why and what influenced this. But before we do, just going to talk about modern experience. So, fetishization is when someone reduces a person to the stereotypes or fantasies tied to their race. Examples of this are when a person says, Asian women are so submissive, or I only date Asians. It's very common for older white men to date Asian women. A lot of white men tend to, in my experience, go to the Philippines and look for an Asian wife and then come and bring them home. It's kind of similar to a mail order bride stereotype as well. And these things are usually founded because of this exotization, which is like a fascination. It's a fascination with another person because they're perceived as foreign, different, exotic, but still paint them as an other, as a fantasy, as outside of the norm, or not socially equal or familiar.
So I'm not going to talk about what's on the screen because I've already seen. He's the reason I watched the show because I was like, how is this man getting anyone to marry him? But what I think from watching 90 Day Fiance and other things like about this is I start to feel a lot of sympathy for the women in these situations because it's kind of like a predatory type of situation where they are in these like third world countries and then these wealthy men go and like convince them to come back for a better life. And it's just such a sacrifice, I feel like, that they have to make because if they're like really in extreme poverty, they're so desperate. And you see it obviously all the time here walking, see them walking around. But I think when I like actually sat and watched an episode or whatever, it just was very telling and like, oh man, I just feel really bad for these women.
Yeah. That actually is a good point. So I actually, in this slide, I've included a response to a Reddit post from a Reddit forum called Ask an Australian. And the question was essentially, what are your thoughts when you see an Asian woman walking with a middle-aged white man? And this person's response, I thought was great. It's how I felt. She's Filipino, but she says, I'm part grossed out by the major age gaps, but also respect the hustle. I've seen the firsthand poorest of the poor in the Philippines, and I can understand why they'd marry a grandpa to get out of there. I know a lot of Filipinos who got married to veterans who are now dead and get to live off their pensions. I know Filipinos who fooled their white husbands and while maintaining their original families abroad. Some couples I've met genuinely in love. But the whole thing that she says about seeing these women get married to get out of terrible situations. I feel like I've seen that a lot in the Filipino community. And sometimes it does work out for people. Like they get married and they're a terrific person. And then sometimes it doesn't work out like that, you know?
Yeah, and I think a lot of what I see is these like women that come from these situations is they try to focus their love and their energy on their children that they have with this person. And so that's kind of like their form of happiness. But I don't think it's something that is really talked about on this side of things in the US, on our side of things. And so unless you have either traveled there or you've taken the time to look and research the circumstances that a lot of these people are coming from, you don't fully understand how desperate of a situation that they could come from.
I think in at least my experience when I have traveled abroad, and I've been in multiple places where after the Vietnam War, there were couples that had gotten established because, you know, the soldier was traveling abroad and then the woman who was with that soldier moved to XYZ location or whatever. And to me, I've always felt very weirded out by those exchanges, partially because there's sort of this conquest element to it as opposed to what I would enter as a more genuine understanding of a person. And from generally the men's side, right? Whereas I do understand, like, if you were presented with a kind of a negative situation and you had an opportunity to get out of it via marriage as the pathway to get you out, I can understand taking that pathway, right? And it sucks that even though we're not in, like, using the Vietnam example, like, the US is not in active war with Vietnam anymore. But that doesn't mean that there's lots of other conflicts and lots of other, like, residual effects on how people see people in other countries or locations or whatever, based solely on, oh, the exotic or the other, right? Like, and there's innate desire because of this person is from a place that's different than I'm from, and therefore I should, you know, go after this person with no other information or justification for that person, right? So to me, that's a very icky feeling to begin with. And I don't know what 90 Day Fiance is, but I'm guessing that there's some effect of that on how this particular, I don't know, couple or something there was having a discussion. I don't know what this is. So, yeah.
Do you want to explain what 90 Day Fiance
Yeah, I
is?
would love this.
Yes.
Trash TV that I'm embarrassed to watch, but I started to watch because of this. I was like, who is this no neck man? So 90 Day Fiance is about somebody in the US and somebody in another country, and they have started this like online dating relationship usually, or they meet them when they travel, and then the TV show films them upon arrival. So they have 90 days to get married. So the immigrant comes to the country. They have 90 days. Also, like my friend that recommended the show to me was like, you will see throughout the 90 days why this American cannot find somebody locally that will marry them because they're really difficult or whatever it is. And normally on the show and even after the show, I feel like a lot of what you hear, which is something that Sin already kind of touched on, is that like these other women are like submissive, whether it's like from Russia or one of the Asian countries. And so it's always men that really want a submissive woman and cannot culturally fit with people that we have in the US, you know, because the trad wives are not real.
Right.
And so they can't find somebody that they match with because they want somebody that they can like control and have the power over. And so they prey on these people that are from these, you know, third world countries that will do their bidding or whatever.
I don't think I need to watch the show.
It's upsetting. Like that's when I started to realize, I was like, oh, this is really sad and awful for these people.
They're always going to third world countries. The Americans are always going to third world countries. I'm like, what?
But I don't
understand.
Yeah, I will say if I like that is always an option for me. I'm like, you know, if I want to get married again, I can change a life. I can bring somebody here.
Right.
And do it this way.
But you would actually find somebody you liked in the other country.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I mean, well, that's always the thing, though, is that the Americans do like them. It's the other people that are like, I guess.
Okay, this ties into The whole theme of the episode, what are you? Asking that question, while it comes from an interest of wanting to get to know someone and learn about their background, the way that it's phrased, and when it's typically asked by a white person, it comes off as a like, you are different from me. Tell me where you are from, because I am interested. I find that attractive, but also you are still an other. So that question really like others a person. And it's considered a microaggression, which is a subtle social behavior or comment that communicates bias, exclusion, stereotypes, or otherness. So it's just not something I ever recommend someone ask another person, because there's other ways you can ask it and that are a lot better than this.
Can you say those for the people?
Yeah. Is there a culture, place, or family background that feels important to who you are?
I think that the point is like, why do you need to ask the question in the first place? That's what I don't understand.
Yeah.
It's like,
People should be able to share their history and their background at their own pace and their own way.
Because I do feel like it's a question usually asked very early on.
Yeah, but why is that necessary?
I don't know.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't understand. I can't comprehend why that is an important factor in your dating profile bullet point red flag list.
Right.
Like, well, oh, this person isn't like, what do you mean? What are you? A human? Like, what do you mean? What? Like, it doesn't make sense.
And does the answer that they give change anything?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. What are you seeking by asking this question to begin with?
Yeah, I would always get this question within the first, maybe, if not in the text message chat while you're on the dating app, I would get it on the first date. So it was at least to me a good like deterrent. I was like, okay, red flag. Like this person's a red flag. I think for the most part, I'm pretty like straight up about my Filipino heritage because it's something I am proud of, and it comes up naturally in conversation. Then I'm like, okay, that's great.
Right. I feel like eventually you do get the answer to that question without asking it just by having normal conversations. I don't think I've asked anyone, like even in our friend circle, like, what's your ethnic background or whatever. And I think eventually it has come out in some way just from talking and sharing about yourself. But that is interesting to lead with that, I guess.
Yeah.
Percentage wise, I'm more some types of white, but like cultural wise, I grew up more in Portuguese culture. So like, even though that's a smaller percentage, that would be the part I identify with more.
These are just common experiences in the modern world, but some people will still be like, it's just a preference. I just have a preference. And I will also point out that I've been problematic before. And if you look at the men that I've dated historically, I've been in relationships with white men, but I've dated people of all ethnic backgrounds. But I can definitely say for sure, when I was in my 20s and dating, I was pretty much exclusively dating white men. And I think a lot of it has to do with the portrayals of what is considered attractive in America at the time that I grew up has always been white men. So I feel like I never really got to see the representation of other ethnicities being highlighted as a beauty standard. There are 3 stereotypes that we're going to talk about. The first 2 relate to Asian women. So the first one is the lotus blossom stereotype. This is the stereotype used to describe Asian women as passive, obedient, self-sacrificing, submissive, sexually available, devoted to men, emotionally dependent, and delicate. This originated from the opera Madama Butterfly, which was written by Giacomo Puccini, Luigi Alicia, and Giuseppe Giocoso. This is the 6th most performed opera in the world, and it's considered a masterpiece by opera aficionados. So the story behind this was an American naval officer named Pinkerton is stationed in Japan, and he gets married to a young Japanese, the play will tell you women, but she was actually a girl. She's 15 years old. Her name is Chocho-san, which is in itself problematic because San is not her last name. Chocho means butterfly, so they just call her Butterfly the entire time. The opera starts with them already together and about to get married. Like they're already in a relationship. But he doesn't take the marriage seriously. He's just like, oh, I'm just gonna marry this Asian woman. And he fully intends on leaving to America to find a quote unquote proper American wife.
Mm.
So she is in this relationship. She is really into him. She's in love with him. And she converts from Buddhism to Christianity. They get married. But right after getting married, he leaves. Are you leaving? Ace was gonna leave. He's not gonna be in the rest of the episode. Quick intermission.
Sorry. I'll be listening to the episode when it airs.
Okay.
Catch the rest of it.
All right. So she's super devoted to this man. They get married and he leaves her right after. Like they sleep together and then he leaves.
And then he like goes.
He leaves.
Just-
Yeah. In the second act, 3 years has passed. Her maid is named Suzuki. And even the maid is like, you gotta let it go. Like, he's not coming back. And she's like, no, he's gonna come back for me. I know it. A man from the U.S. consulate named Sharpless has a letter from Pinkerton saying that he isn't gonna come back. And he wanted Sharpless to tell Chocho, Butterfly. Her name is Chocho. I don't want to call her Butterfly because I feel like that's just reducing her.
Uh-huh.
So they call her Chocho. Anyway, he goes to her house to tell her he's not coming back at all. But when he gets there, he sees that she's still super devoted to him. And he can't bring himself to tell her he's not coming back.
Okay.
So he asks...
This is typical, man.
So he asks her, like, what will you do if he never comes back? And that's when she reveals that she had his baby.
Mm-hmm.
Sharpless leaves and then writes a letter to Pinkerton to tell him that she's had his baby. Pinkerton is going to come back. Chocho and her son are waiting to see him. They're sleeping. And Pinkerton comes and he has his new wife with him, Kate.
Okay.
And she agrees to raise the baby
Oh.
as the mom. So she just
So
expects...
she knows that this has happened, that he was married to somebody else, had a kid.
Yes.
Okay.
So they come to Japan and they come just to basically pick up the kid. And so when Pinkerton, his wife, and Sharpless get to their house in Japan, he sees how beautiful the house is and essentially how devoted she has still been since he's left. And then he feels so much guilt about it.
The worst thing for a man to feel.
And then he leaves.
Yeah, this is sounding very legitimate.
And then he's like, you guys deal with it. So he forces Kate, Sharpless, and the maid Suzuki to like handle telling her that he is not going to be with her and that he has a new wife. And so Chocho wakes up. She sees these 3 people telling her like, hey, we're taking your son because he doesn't want to be with you. And also he doesn't want to see you because he's really embarrassed. And then she's like devastated. And she agrees to give up her son. And in the end of the play, she unalives herself because she's just so devastated that he does not want to be with her. And after she unalives herself, he comes and he sees that she's dead and he's too late. So that's where the
So how did he cope with that guilt?
We don't know.
Okay.
I guess this is considered it's not a drama, a tragedy.
Tragedy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it does sound very tragic and stupid. But I will say, I've never heard of this story. But immediately when you were kind of leading into the episode and saying, like, we'll get into where the stereotype comes from, my immediate thought was, like, it has to be something to do with, like, our military from the U.S. being in these other countries, because I feel like that is where all of this comes from. And it's like, well, you had weapons. Of course they were submissive. Like, they didn't have weapons, you know? So this play, though, is kind of like along those lines. Like, he was a seaman and...
Written by Italian people.
Oh.
Yeah, this was an Italian...
But he was an American seaman?
American Navy?
Yeah.
American
I
Navy.
call him seaman, sorry. Yeah, but so even like this other third-party country, Italy, is like, here's what Americans are doing over in these countries.
And this was in the early 1900s. 1904. It was very, very early on.
Wow.
Yeah. It premiered in 1904. In the presentation, I have a picture from one of the operas. It shows a white person dressed up as Cho-Cho.
I was the whole time was like, Kate is pictured here. Okay.
Yeah, this because Asian people couldn't be on the stage. They couldn't
Is that
perform.
really why? Were they not allowed on stage?
No.
Oh.
The only person to really kind of break that norm was below is Anna May Wong. She was an actress in the 1920s, 1930s, but she's the first Chinese American Hollywood actress of the time. And it was even rare for her to be able to. She pretty much like filled all the roles of
She was
all
like
the type of Asian
anybody
person.
that was not a white person.
Right.
Okay.
In her adaptation, it's called The Toll of the Seas. They essentially made a silent film adaptation, and it takes place when in China. Like they kind of redo it, so it's a
Okay.
Chinese adaptation. But it's the same story.
Yeah.
Same things happen. That's like her being like, give me your son.
That's Kate trying
That's
to
Kate
okay.
trying to take her son away.
The adoption.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's sad.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sad for Butterfly.
For Cho-Cho?
Yeah, Cho-Cho.
Yeah. The reason why it's associated with the lotus is because lotuses are associated with delicacy, femininity, purity, exotic beauty, and submissiveness. So that's why the stereotype is called the lotus blossom stereotype, but it originated from Madame Butterfly.
Okay. Man. I also feel like just the fact that this man's behavior was in a play
Right.
and like we're just excusing it, that he repeatedly can't deal with uncomfortable feelings.
Right.
This just goes deep. I feel like this is like into all the episodes you previously talked about.
I know, I was reading it and I was like, okay, first of all, he just was originally he didn't care to begin with. Like his intentions were already shitty.
Right. And then it went all the way to marriage, though.
Yeah. Intentions were shitty. Marriage to a 15-year-old child.
Right.
Right. You know.
That you're intending to bail on
Right.
immediately.
And then you come back and you're like, wow, like she really cared so much about me.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I can't handle this. And then I'll make this someone else. Like he left and then he always expected everyone else to handle it for him.
Specifically women.
Yeah.
Like, no,
Women,
I guess he did
then
send that one man.
one-
Yeah, okay.
But it's
Who also couldn't. He was like, I can't see someone cry. I don't want to do that.
so literally the privileged white man in the entire thing just basically got to not deal with his emotions.
It was such a well-known trope. They made it to an entire story.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, this checks out. Yeah.
What a masterpiece.
Yeah. Let's keep it running for 100+ years.
Yeah, the 6th most performed opera in the world. And it's had so many different adaptations to it. Even more recently, the one it was like in 2021.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So this is very recent.
Mm-hmm.
I think I just got an idea for a Broadway musical. It's kind of like And Juliet, but it's And Cho-Cho. And it's about how she doesn't commit suicide and she comes back as a badass, just like Juliet does.
Yeah, I would watch it.
Thank you. I don't have the script yet. Contact me, Andrew Lloyd Webber. We'll come up with some songs.
Go find Lin-Manuel Miranda. Let's get it together.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. Yeah, yeah.
So this is where the stereotype of being like submissive came from. This annoys me personally because I'm not a submissive person.
Mm-hmm.
And so I always knew that if I had encountered someone that kind of fetishizes Asian women, they usually tend to expect Asian women to lead to this stereotype.
Right. I think that in like what we were talking about on the previous slide with like the 90-day fiance type of thing, I think that is because there's an inherent source of power because it's like, well, you don't have any money, you're coming to this country, you don't know anyone, you can't work immediately, and all of those things. So they have the upper hand. And so this other person that they are supposed to love is at their mercy.
Right. Yeah. This is still very prevalent.
The stereotype?
The stereotype
Yes.
is still
I would agree, especially among certain types of men.
Mm-hmm. And I don't even think it's exclusive to white men. I think it's just like the general stereotype.
It's now
Asian
become,
women.
yeah,
Yeah.
like so widespread.
Mm-hmm. The other stereotype for Asian women is the dragon lady stereotype. And this stereotype is used to describe Asian women as seductive, manipulative, dangerous, mysterious, hypersexual, emotionally cold, deceptive, and dominant. And one of the best examples of this is Lucy Liu in Charlie's Angels in the early 2000s. And don't get me wrong, I fucking love Lucy Liu in this role.
It's almost like if the woman is not passive and submissive and all of those things, then they're like, well, I can't possibly understand what's happening here. So it must be the other extreme,
Right.
which is this dangerous woman that, you know, is emotionally cold, which is like maybe she just didn't like you.
Right.
Or deceptive, you know, like maybe she just doesn't want to have sex with you. I don't know. Like all those qualities, like she sounds like a badass that you and I are like, yeah, she's a hero. But I could see if a man were expecting one version that like they didn't get, then maybe they would have to
Then
justify it some way. Yeah.
It's how when the person didn't fit the Lotus Blossom stereotype, then they put them into this stereotype of the dragon lady. Yeah.
And there's only 2 slots that you could fit in.
Right. A good example in the original 2000 Charlie's Angel, there's 2 scenes where Lucy Liu gets flirted with, or like men approach her to like talk, but she's like on a mission. So like she's like, no, nah, like cold and closing them off. They show her as they put like chopsticks in her hair in one of these pictures. It's like one where she's doing the massage, she has chopsticks in her hair.
Right,
so, like,
I remember that.
Play up the fact that she's like the only Asian person there.
Right.
This is one of the times where they're not a villain, but she is a hero in this sense. The trope originated from a book series from Sax Rohmer. He created a series where there was an evil villain named Dr. Fu Manchu, and he was an evil Chinese mastermind who threatened Western society. So this was at a time where they were kind of painting Chinese people as like the other. Dr. Fu Manchu had a daughter named Fa Sui, and she was known as seductive, cunning, deceptive, powerful, and sexually manipulative. So that's how the idea of a dangerous, exotic Asian woman came to be. But the term dragon lady specifically came from a comic strip in the 1930s from Terry and the Pirates. The dragon lady was an actual character, and she was just a glamorized, like, Asian pirate villain. But she embodied seduction, danger, mystery, manipulation, and hypersexual femininity.
And I feel like a lot of these remind me of like somebody that would be like a double agent or something, you know, along those lines. But I also feel like the man in the previous story that was like using this woman for sex, this 15-year-old girl for sex, was also being sexually manipulative. And
Right.
But like he's not a dragon man.
Right.
He was just like a good guy that had his whole life ahead of him.
Yeah, this stereotype is obviously dangerous in its own ways, but I do think it's cool that it's in the, she's a badass. Like, who
It
cares?
empowers,
Yeah.
it empowers them. And
Right.
so that's the cool part
Right.
because it does give them some power.
Some sort of agency of like, I don't like this man. Even though it was a way to put women in like some sort of box, I like that they're still considered like dangerous for men, like scary, like they're gonna hurt you.
Right. Like the men are also like probably physically bigger than the women in these situations. And so like we all love somebody that is like a badass fighter or something like that. I can see where the damage is done.
Mm-hmm.
And then also it's like, we kind of want that.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Right. But I don't necessarily see this stereotype play out in society today, but it is one of the ones that is out.
Yeah, definitely not as common of a stereotype as the Lotus one, the previous.
Yeah. And then the next one is going to be the stereotype that Asian men face. But we're going to use Filipinos as the example because I think this is the great example for it. So in the 1920s and in the 1930s, there used to be these things called taxi dance halls. Essentially, they were just clubs where men could pay to dance with women. So essentially, you were actually dancing in a ballroom with women.
Like a traditional ballroom.
Right.
Nobody's, okay.
Yeah. When Prohibition happened, which was 1920s, I believe, 1920s, they made it illegal for these dance halls and alcohol to essentially coexist in the same space. So that ended up creating closed dance halls, which a lot of people frequented. One of the first closed dance halls was they were all in a lot of them were in Northern California. Filipinos fled to Stockton because Stockton had a lot of the farms out there, and Filipinos were hired a lot of the time. The Filipino workers were essentially a huge part of the farmers worker movements that happened in California.
Stockton also had Japanese internment camps in it. So like Stockton has a lot of weird history to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I knew the Japanese internment. I didn't know they were in Stockton.
Yeah, there were some in Stockton, and Dorothea Lange, who is a documentary photographer from that time, she like went and did, photographs of it. Her most famous work is the Dust Bowl image of like the woman and her kids, but she went and photographed and documented the internment camps in Stockton, and they were also racist at that time. And so anyone that just like quote unquote looked Japanese or Asian was also being put in these camps regardless. So a lot of interesting cultural history there.
Yeah. California's history was terrible.
Right. Those fun missions that the Native Americans got to build just for fun, according to them, if you read the signs.
Yeah. There was a large Filipino community in the 1920s in Northern California, and they liked to frequent these dance halls. Most of the dancers were mostly white, but there were some Mexican women that were dancers as well. They were a huge part of the social scene at the time. For a lot of Filipino men, they came to the US to work on a lot of the farms to be able to send money back home. It's a very popular story amongst Filipino cultures. Most immigrants that come from the Philippines are sending money back home.
Mm-hmm.
But some of these workers, for just 10 cents a dance, could dance with women and just have this vibrant social life. So these closed taxi dance halls became like such a melting pot for people of different backgrounds. Because these Filipino men were frequenting the dance halls, a lot of women started being really attracted to the Filipino men because they were good dancers and they were super fashionable. Like they dressed to the nines to go to these like dance halls.
I feel like everything you're describing, like them being super into music, like it's a big part of their culture and like they're very fashionable. I feel like this applies to current day as well. I'm like 1920 or now.
Yeah, they were known as charismatic, good dancers, socially confident, stylish, and fashionable. And so they became really popular amongst the women at that period of time, to the point where like there are some women that were dating Filipino men, and the white men come back. They were pissed.
The men of Stockton?
The men of Northern California.
Okay.
Yeah. It was mostly in Northern
Not much
California.
has changed. Okay.
Yeah. Northern California. Interracial dating became common, but also remember at this time, interracial marriage was still legal.
Oh, so that's interesting. They're still dating now. Good for them.
Yeah. And so there was a lot of white racial panic at the time. They were upset that their whiteness was being threatened, because all the women
The
were
bad dancing was being threatened.
They were upset that interracial mixing happened. And so this caused a lot of white men at the time to, what is it called? Do racial violence.
Oh, like there were like hate crimes
There
happening?
were hate crimes. In the 1930s, there was the Watsonville Riots. And the Watsonville Riots were essentially a bunch of white men attacking Filipino
In
women.
Watsonville, California?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, do you know Watsonville?
Yeah, I have a good friend, a college friend from there, but he wasn't involved because he's also born in this time. But that's the only thing I've known about. Like I've been to Watsonville because he's from there. But yeah, I had no idea that history happened.
Yeah. There was a lot of riots where they would essentially attack all the Filipino men.
I feel like one of the like best things about California is our like racial diversity. And I know we have some people that disagree with the general blue population of California. But I feel like that's so sad to hear that these like places that are so familiar that these horrible things happen there. Really upsetting.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we're all such a community now. Like, this is me again in my, like, I thought everybody was like me.
Yeah.
This is just, I'm in the community. I don't know what you guys are doing. You're fighting out there.
You're like, what do you mean we didn't like Asian people?
Exactly. I love them. What do you mean?
I wanted to bring this up just because I thought this whole moment in history was cool. There was a time where like Asian men were considered extremely attractive, and the reason why this kind of stereotype developed against them just because the anger of the white men in the community caused like this backlash.
This is also interesting because it's like kind of like the whole like Evo script again, the whole like incel mentality of like, you can't have, like, there's only so much women to go around, and like they all want this one guy. Like, it's the same thing happening again.
Mm-hmm. But now the enemy is just the Asian person.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And those some pictures that I have in the presentation now are there's a group of Filipino men dressed to the nines, ready in a little portrait. Probably a family. I think they're known as manongs. Those are what the men's were known at the time. There's a little video of the dance hall happening where these white women were dancing with Asian men and Filipino men, because there were also Hispanic men that would come to the close dance halls too. Excuse me.
This looks so fun.
Yeah. It was a really popular like social gathering. It was, I think it's really funny because it's like, wow, there was an instance where, you know, women were starting to socially accept this group of people. The white men were like, we can't have
Absolutely not. And also, like, it's not like there were other fun things to do in Stockton, California, but they were like, put an end to it.
This is one of the things that kind of led to the stereotype of Asian men not being desirable.
Well, and can I also point out that, like, I feel like, I could be wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, the white men would have been welcome at the dance hall if they wanted to go and dance as well.
Yeah, and they had to pay to go inside.
Yeah.
They could have gone inside.
Yeah.
They
But so, like, we didn't have to get, like, crazy and violent and mad about it.
Yeah, but this was also like pre-segregation just in general too.
Yeah.
We barely, I mean, at this point, slavery was technically illegal, but they were still exploiting a lot of farm workers.
Right.
Which is
Well,
essentially why the
yeah, I mean, we still
farm-
have prisons now, so it's like
right.
slavery is illegal, but we also have prison workers.
But yeah, this kind of just shows how desirability changes depending on culture, media, race, and politics. So, desirability is political. People like to think attraction is purely instinctive and fully individual and just your own preference, but there's obviously influences from other, like I had mentioned, like I had previously mainly dated white men. I remember specifically in college when I was studying sociology, when people would be like, oh, like, why do you want to date white men? And this was before I had even decided I didn't want to have children. And I remember saying, because if I ever have kids, I want to set them up for the best future, which I don't want kids. So that's not the reason.
Right.
I think after some reflection, it took for me some time to like, why am I only narrowing my dating pool to only this specific group of people who I've historically have not had a good track record with? Maybe I shouldn't be so judgmental about it. And then I started dating all men, all different backgrounds, and they all suck.
Yeah.
I realized it wasn't just because of the race.
Right.
It was
just spoiler.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. I guess I was attracted to like all races, I feel like, from an early age, because like I had enough exposure that I was like, yeah, I'm into all of them. And then I feel like there was a phase where when I started dating, it happened to be mostly white men. And then now I'm to the point that it's very rarely white men that like the last guy that I dated was white. And I was like, this has been a long time since I've dated a white guy. This is very rare.
This feels different.
Yeah. I was like, this is weird. He was like from the Midwest. Like he was white.
Yeah. Growing up, all of my like celebrity crushes when I was a little kid, or like my first crushes, were all like white men from like the Disney Channel shows,
Right.
or like the
There was
Hollywood now.
definitely not like representation. I think we're getting better at it now, but there still wasn't a lot of representation of other races besides white in media.
Yeah, agreed.
Like none of the boy bands,
No.
you know?
Mm-mm. I mean, there is now,
Yeah.
which we'll get to in the next slide. But historically, again, we mentioned it, interracial marriage didn't become legal until June of 1967 from the Supreme Court case Loving versus Virginia. And I believe that was a white man and a black woman, an interracial couple.
Politically, it became legal, but our social norms didn't necessarily catch up with that because, like, one of my exes, his mom was white and his dad was mixed, but half Japanese, half Filipino, and her family had a problem with them getting married, and that was like, I don't know when, the 70s or the 80s. But even though it had been legal, socially, we still took time to catch up.
I feel like there's just still general biases growing. Like,
I don't want somebody that looks like they could be my brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want someone that feels like family already. I like the sense of community that Filipino people have, but I also think there's some level of I think I personally don't want to date a Filipino person because I want someone that comes in it from different perspectives. As much as it's cool for someone to relate on that cultural level of what you're experiencing, I think the joy of being in America and the melting pot that we pride ourselves on being is the fact that like you can meet someone and hit it off and you can be together even though you come from different backgrounds.
Ideally, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that has a lot more to offer to me as an individual.
Yeah, that makes sense. Just don't fetishize people.
Nah,
that's the key takeaway.
Yeah, and I feel like that can apply to so many things, but I think like with the internet and with porn and things like that, it can exacerbate the problem. I mean, I guess the problem was already there before, but I don't know. Like, stop doing it. I don't understand.
The internet has amplified a lot of problems.
Yeah, that is very true.
Yeah. But the reason why fetishization is problematic is being desired is not the same as being seen as an equal.
Yeah, when it just like objectifies you, which then takes away your intellect and your power and everything.
Dehumanizing them.
Yes. Yeah.
We do have some modern shifts that have been happening. So Asian men have historically been seen as a lot more desirable lately. And I think that has to do with K-pop and Korean culture becoming a lot more mainstream now. So BTS, one of the hugest boy bands of all time, is a Korean boy band who I personally don't follow because I don't listen to BTS, but I do know that a lot of people really, really like them.
Yeah, I love K-pop in general. There's a couple BTS songs that I like, but yeah.
I like Jungkook's song. I think typical masculine beauty standard, like
the American version that we're used to seeing.
Version. It tends, and that's another reason why Asian men haven't necessarily been seen as more desirable because they don't typically fit the American beauty standard of like a jawline or like full beard or whatever. Like these like masculine.
I mean, also like think about how much bacteria are in beards.
Yeah. I also have a picture of K-dramas here because K-dramas and then K-pop has been so mainstream that I think views on Asian men has been changing a lot more lately.
Yeah.
Yeah. That guy from I don't know if you've seen that K-drama.
No, but he's very handsome.
Crash Landing on You. It's so good.
Okay.
It's on Netflix.
Okay.
It's the K-drama that got me into K-dramas. It's my mom's favorite K-drama. She watches it all the time.
Okay.
Like rewatches it so many times.
That's all
to the point
endorsement
where
I need.
At some point I was like, fine, I'll finally sit down and watch it. And I watched it. It was so good.
Oh,
like,
she was the one that got you into it. Okay.
These are examples like how the shift has been happening for men. However, I think for women, there's been an opposite shift.
Okay. I was wondering why that image was there with the shift.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think especially with like a lot of animation styles lately have depicted hypersexualized women a lot more, especially like in subcircles like hentai, which is like a form of anime where they're just hypersexualized. I think the reason why this is a big problem is because these are instances where these characters are looking childlike.
I was going to bring that up, so I'm glad that you did, because a lot of them are children in the animes, whatever they're portraying, like they're in school or whatever. The argument is that, like, well, but it's just a drawing, but they are drawings of children because they're in school or whatever it is. And they often, like in this image, have like a grotesquely large sexual organ of some type. Like it's over emphasized, and then it objectifies them even more because it's like they're just a pair of boobs or like ass or whatever.
Right.
Instead of like an actual human woman.
It creates this extremely unrealistic beauty standard of you have to have these like large body parts, but also look really young.
Yeah.
And like be like very demure and like palatable.
And act very demure. Yeah. And one of my friends actually pointed out something really interesting the other day, which was that AI generated images don't draw anime women with these like obscenely large boobs or anything, but humans are still doing it. But like AI has not factored that in.
Yeah. I see this a lot. It's like even in video games, like was it like Tomb Raider? She's always shown like having like her boobs just like flopping around as she's like saving the tombs. I don't know what the Tomb Raider is.
I don't know either. But yeah, I do know that it's about her boobs flying around. She like doesn't have a bra, poor thing. Yeah. And I feel like all the games, like there's of course like Grand Theft Auto, there's like the ones that are known for it, but a ton of video games do have these images that are just like constantly, like if you play video games for hours on end, they're just constantly bombarding you with it. And so you lose touch with what's normal and what's real. And then I feel like the hentai genre is also emphasizing that even more. Like there's these like really obscure, like random things happening that are just like, it's more and more and more because like you're desensitized, I guess, to the rest.
Yeah. I just thought it was good to bring up because again, things are looking better for the men. For the Asian men.
Yeah.
So
and I get that
Asian women.
I get that it's lucrative, but like it's bad. All bad.
Yeah. So this is the line shifts. That's pretty much the episode. So this is where these stereotypes come from. And I feel like knowing this information and also learning what is considered offensive or a microaggression and asking, what are you? Is just something people don't say why it's not okay. We just say it's not okay. And I think this episode was meant to help explain like where these stereotypes come from, what's the history behind it all, and how each person could take that, reflect, and figure out a way in their own life to not other people in a sense.
Yeah, because cultural differences are something that should be embraced, not othered.
Right.
Yeah.
Agreed. Any other questions or comments?
I loved this episode. I thought it was great and really exciting episode for me. I didn't know what our episode was going to be about today, so I was pleasantly surprised. And I loved it. And I'm going to keep on dating Asian men.
Yeah. So if there's any that are interested,
yeah.
hit her up.
Yeah, and if you look like, what's the hot guy's name that they gave him shit for getting buff?
Camille Nanjiani.
Yeah, if you look like him, definitely leave a comment.
All right, that's it for today's episode. If you have any questions about human sexuality, you can submit them anonymously using the link in the description. Follow the show for future lessons, because the best way to destigmatize sex is to talk about it. And if you want to continue the conversation, join the newsletter and grab the Essential Sex Conversations workbook. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.